All right. Good morning and welcome to our Veterans Digital Transformation Breakfast. My name is Michael Hoffman, and I'm the president of Government CIO Media and Research. Government CIO Media and Research is the online destination for thought leadership and research focused on the transformation of government IT. Our experienced team collects the best practices in research regarding the advancing technology and management landscape. On behalf of my team, I want to thank you for choosing to spend your morning with us. We're excited about the agenda and speakers we have lined up for you this morning, to include U.S. Senator John Boozman, VA Deputy Secretary James Byrne, VA Assistant Secretary and Chief Information Officer Jim Jaffer, and Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary Dominic Cusat, along with other prominent VA leaders, especially in the OIT space. The Department of Veterans Affairs is in the midst of its third most significant transformation. The first followed the Civil War when President Lincoln opened veterans' homes. The second followed World War II with the creation of the GI Bill. The third is occurring right here today with a focus on customer service, Secretary Robert Wilkie's top priority. That focus on customer service has resulted in a digital modernization strategy that has transformed a department supporting more than 19 million veterans. And that's why this morning, the week before Veterans Day, we wanted to focus on digital transformation. The digital transformation happening right now at the department. We have a lot of very important attendees at the event, not only on the agenda, but also in the audience. We have such a great group of folks from veteran service organizations, the VA, industry, academia, everyone. So thank you so much for everyone coming. There are three people, though, I did want to point out, three people that you sometimes don't get as much recognition as maybe they should. For those three people are Kara Vericchio, Contracting Officer at the Technology Acquisition Center, Candice Mazzetta, Contract Specialist at the TAC, and James Cozzolino, Product Strategist for Project Special Forces. The reason we wanted to point them out is because the VA's Technology Acquisition Center uses innovative acquisition techniques which enable the veterans' digital experience, and these three are paving the way with the increased use of demos, creative outside-the-box thinking, and true digital service acquisition techniques. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. Before we move on, I would like to mention we're live streaming this morning's forum. So everyone who's tuning in, good morning. We hope everyone in this room and watching from home can be part of the conversation by posting your comments and questions with the hashtag VeteransCX. And with that, we have such a packed lineup. Let's begin. We're excited to kick things off with U.S. Senator John Boozman, senior member of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee and chairman of the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Military Construction, Veterans Affairs, and related agencies. He will be joined by Government CIO Senior Vice President Mega Chachki. Senator Boozman is the son of an Air Force Master Sergeant. He learned firsthand the sacrifices and dedication required by the men and women who serve in our armed forces. As a public servant, Senator Boozman has been committed to improving the quality of life for both our veterans and their families. He has authored provisions to extend successful federal homeless veterans programs, expand treatments for our wounded warriors, and modernize the educational benefits under the GI Bill. So we could think of no better person to kick off our morning than to have Senator Boozman join us. Senator, Mega, could you please join me on stage? All right. Thank you very much.
If you can, just one more seat. Thank you. All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Megha Chakshi, Senior Vice President for Veterans Affairs with Government CIO. Welcome, Senator Boozman, and thank you for taking the time this morning.
Well, thank you for having me, and congratulations on a standing room only crowd. This is great. Can't think of a better subject.
Yes, absolutely. I believe this topic is extremely important to everyone present in this room. So thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your busy morning and being here. VA is undergoing a significant transformation, and this change has been made possible from the inside as well as the outside through a collaborative effort between the Congress, Veterans Affairs, veteran service organizations, many of whom are present over here, and the private sector, many of which are represented over here as well. So, Senator, can you share a few thoughts about your impression on the VA's transformation? In your opinion, do you think we have capitalized on the opportunities that have been in front of us to significantly change the veteran experience?
I think the VA is doing a tremendous job in a number of different areas, and it's all across the board. When you look at the wait times for people trying to get their benefits, we've shortened that dramatically. The IT system that we're in the process of putting in is so important. And so it's really been a collaborative effort. First of all, the American public realizing that these aren't give-me's, these are earned benefits. And I think as somebody whose dad was in the military, growing up in that situation, I don't think we've ever had a time in our history, in my history anyway, that there wasn't more support for the veteran. So it's a good time, and it's a lot of people working together. Certainly this is an area we hear a lot about, all of the stuff that goes on to Washington. We're not getting anything done. We've done a tremendous amount for veterans in the last few years. And then also in a very bipartisan way, which is so very important. So I'm pleased with the progress that we've made. We've got a lot still to do, but we're moving in the right direction.
So, like you mentioned, IT is very important, and we believe that it's one of the key components for delivering a seamless and effective customer service and customer experience for the veterans. How is Congress working with VA to improve its IT and deliver better products?
Well, Congress is working very hard. We are committing a tremendous amount of money in that effort. We've spent a lot of money in the past, and to be honest, I don't know that we've really gotten as much bang for the buck as we would like. That's changing. One of the things that I was in the House for 9 years. This is my second term in the Senate, and so being on the VA committee the entire time. Now I'm in a little unusual situation. I'm on the VA committee and then chairing the subcommittee on appropriations, so seeing it from both sides. But there really is a committed effort right now to spend the dollars that we need, and then also provide the oversight, helping the VA get this done. And we're spending about $16 billion, making it such that the VA and DOD can talk to each other. We chose, or the VA chose DOD, the same people to do both, so that there should be great interoperability. $16 billion, to put that into perspective, an aircraft carrier costs about $13 billion. So this is a tremendous amount of money over the next 10 years. And again, both sides, Republicans and Democrats, are committed to making sure that at the end of the day, that we have a good product. Going to be rolling it out in the Northwest, probably a little bit delayed right now. That's okay. Our message to the VA is, let's do this right. And we want to, as we roll out, we don't want a rocky start. We want a good start. And so again, I think things are moving on track, and we're going to work hard to make sure that they are on track.
Very nice. So you have also been a very big supporter of the Mission Act. And as part of the Mission Act implementation, VA rolled out the Community Care Program earlier this summer. And there's still a lot of work to be done, but everyone's very committed within the department as well as its partners. So from your perspective, how is the implementation of the Mission Act going?
I think the Mission Act is going very well, and I was very concerned. I didn't think it would go well, based on the fact that as we roll out these huge government programs, in the past they haven't gone well. And it doesn't matter if it's the VA or various other aspects of health care. VA is a huge agency. You're talking about lots of people. You're talking about a significant change in programs, but it is going well. The feedback that I've gotten back from the providers and the veterans has been good so far. We're 4 or 5 months into this now, collecting a lot of data, and so I think pretty soon we'll be able to determine who's using it, some of the glitches in the program, and then we can improve from there. I can tell you, in fact, I was thinking about a community this morning as I was coming over here. Little community in Arkansas, tucked away in the hills, about a 3-hour drive to the closest VA, around windy, curvy roads. Most of the individuals that need this type of care tend to be elderly and dependent on somebody to take them or dangerously taking themselves. But it's made it such that those individuals now, again, are able to seek care in their own community without doing that. And that's done a couple different things. It's been so much easier on the veterans. What it does, though, is it also decreases emergency room care, things like that, because the veterans are getting taken care of in a timely fashion. And when you're facing a 3-hour drive, you simply can't do that many times. So I think we're moving in the right direction. So far, I've been pretty pleased. It's still early, though. And again, we are going to, I can tell you, as the chair of the Appropriations Subcommittee, and then my counterpart, Senator Schatz, we can truthfully say that we are spending a lot of money, making sure that they've got the resources that they need. And the VA is pretty good. I think we're doing a good job of communicating with each other about what the resources are that we're going to need. And as we take this data that we've gotten, over this 5 months, it'll help us better. But right now, I think we're providing the resources, and again, it's still early, but right now it's on track.
Like you said, together we will make it happen, right?
Yeah.
Right. Moving on to beyond VA healthcare, there's VA benefits as well, and that plays a significant amount. We always kind of talk about VA healthcare a lot. It's very important to the veterans and their family, their caregivers, but at the same time, benefits on the other side is equally important. And there have been some challenges, but VBA has been moving forward, making some significant reforms and transformation. Cold-Marie was one thing that you had brought up, last year that was a challenge, and you had mentioned that, it was not going as well as you thought it should have been. So where do you think VA is right now? Because there have been some definite steps that VBA and OINT have taken together to make that change happen.
They have, and I think we can be proud of the fact that when we look at the wait time for veterans benefits, that's been reduced dramatically. From several 100,000 down to about 40,000, I think now. Some of the people, the experts, that are fighting that on a daily basis can give us a better tally of that later. One of the concerns that we have, again, and we're providing the funding is that to many of your all's credit that have worked so hard, the VSOs, the other agencies that have really pushed hard, we've been able to make it such that the Blue Water Navy veterans are eligible for care. And you don't think about that, but there's concern, and to their credit, the VA has thought about it. What we don't want to do is those people come forward with their claims, that we get back, with a several 100,000 backlog that not only makes it such that they have to wait, but it crowds out other people also waiting. And so the VA has asked for extra workers and things like that, which again, we're going to provide the funding for. So I think also in regard to the benefit package, we're moving in the right direction. It's just a constant battle. One thing that we're seeing with benefits, and again, we can get the people that are the experts fighting this battle on a daily basis, but the claims now are more complicated. And so, it's kind of claims within a claim. And so the IT program there is doing well. We're able to do much more of that, not by hand like we used to, but also is in a situation where we can move forward. And I think we'll get more efficient as we go forward. We are going to get more efficient because myself and others are going to press hard to make sure that we do that.
Well, thank you for that, though. And
really
it's, yes, I agree that, in this world of digitization, it's very important that there's enough of technology that's put in place that makes it easier for the VA to process the claims behind the scenes and really pay more focus on dealing with the veterans on a one-to-one basis and let the technology do the behind-the-scenes work. That personal touch is just so important. And that itself is very important when you have to deal with veterans that are going through some significant challenges themselves, like PTSD, and other health challenges that they may have caught on during their time in war. One of the big things that we've always heard about, and we think it's a major crisis, is veteran suicide rate. You have said that this is a crisis that Congress has been trying to mitigate for a while. You've given a lot of money, but we are still not there yet. And with that, you have said that you've actually introduced a bill called the Improve Wellbeing for Veterans Act. And I read that Secretary Wilkie basically said that this is key to unlocking the veteran crisis, suicide crisis. So can you tell us a little bit more about your push for this legislation?
Well, we do appreciate Secretary Wilkie's support, and this is a huge issue. About 20 veterans a day commit suicide. The problem is, and Jeff Miller's around here somewhere, one of my he's the former, there he is back there, he's the former chair of the House Veterans Committee. He and I came in at the same time, sat together for 9 years. The trouble is that we've heard that same statistic year after year. So we have 20 a day. We've quadrupled the amount of money that we're spending on the issue. So it's not like we're not putting resources forward, but we don't have the bang for the buck that we'd like, in reducing that number. Now, the problem is 14 of those 20 don't have contact with the VA. So we can't blame the VA in the sense that if you're not coming in contact with them, we can probably blame them a little bit in the sense of outreach and things like that. But again, there's so many that aren't coming in contact. So what we're trying to do is really do a program much like we've done with veterans homelessness. In Little Rock, Arkansas, it was almost at a crisis level. In fact, it was at a crisis level. Now they've made it such that on paper there's very little veterans homelessness. And the reason being is basically the VA just got the community together, the NGOs, the nonprofits, and said, look, we need help. And, how can you help us solve this problem? And to their credit, the community, the veteran service organizations, the other nonprofits stepped forward and helped and provided the key. So what we're trying to do with this bill is say, look, we want to put metrics in place. We want to measure what works, what doesn't work. But we also, in doing that, want non-traditional providers to step forward in the sense of not working with the VA in the past, to give them little grants to help them so that we can identify these 14, provide them services, and actually provide some services there, but get them grafted into the VA where we can provide a lot more services. And so it's a common sense thing. The VA does a great job. Veteran service organizations have the heart, and they can be very, very helpful. What we're trying to do is harness them. What we're doing now is not working. We've got to think outside the box. And there's some great programs out there that are non-affiliated that are doing a tremendous job and will be able to broaden their outreach with just a few dollars of help. These organizations generally stretch their dollars so very far. But we're going to measure, and make sure, that we're pushing the money in the right direction. Again, in an effort not to compete with the VA, but to get those 14 that we currently don't have in the system, to get them so that they're aware of the VA, then provide some help, but also get the umbrella of the VA to provide a lot more help. Veterans are blessed right now. There are so many things out there that are available to them, but many of them don't know. Many of them simply are unaware of the tremendous changes that have come about in the last few years even. And so that's really the effort. Senator Warner is my fellow in the Senate that is working hard on this with me. And then we have our counterparts in the House. And any help that you can give us along that line, we would appreciate, because again, I think it's the right direction. What we do have to recognize now is that what we're doing is not working. We've got good measurements, better than ever before, and so in an effort to actually put a dent in those numbers and change them, this is what we're proposing.
Very good. So this is, I'm sure, part of your long-term vision for the VA too. What else, as we close this fireside chat, what else do you, in your opinion, should be the long-term vision for the VA? You know, as a senior member of the Appropriations Committee for Veterans Affairs, as well as, a chairman for the Appropriations Committee for Veterans Affairs and a senior member of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee.
Well, I think that the Veterans Department, like every other department, this is a much different world than it was even 10 years ago. And so we have different technology that's out there. We have an aging veterans population. And then we've got all of these young people that are coming on board also. So as a result of that, we just have to adapt. One of the things that we're working on, in fact, I'm working really hard with Senator Tester on, who's the ranking member of VA on the Senate committee, is making sure that women, there's so many more women that are serving in the military now, and as a result we have all of these women veterans. The VA system was really built, the hospital system and things was built on a male situation because that was predominantly who was serving. That's not the case anymore. And so that's a good example of how things have changed dramatically, continuing to change, to make sure that as our female veterans are in the VA hospital, some of them doesn't walk up to them and say, "Where's your husband?" Yeah, that's not a good situation. And to their credit, we've made tremendous headway in that regard. But this is something that we still lack, so that's a major thing. But I think there's a lot of other things like that. And certainly with the technology the way it is, it's so much easier to communicate. I'll tell you another story that regarding veteran suicide. I can think of a small community in Arkansas, really not that small, kind of a medium-sized community for Arkansas. They had probably one of the highest veteran suicide rates. We've got lots of veterans in Arkansas, lots of veterans throughout the Midwest and the South, but they had one of the highest veteran suicide rates in the country. And so the VA talked to the VSOs, what can we do, this and that. And essentially, several members, VSO members, just said, we're gonna fix this. And so what they did was get a list of all of the veterans in the area and simply went out and visited them all. Getting them back in. It's just another example of harnessing these groups. But that's the kind of thinking that we've got to have. And the good news is with the technology that we've got, there's lots of emphasis. I was so pleased in the introduction. We talked about the VA being customer friendly. And that's really what it's about. These are service organizations. Again, these aren't give-me's. These are earned benefits. And so, we simply have to have that attitude that, and the good news is, people that work in the VA are doing a good job and have that attitude. And I think it's being reinforced more than ever before, which is a good thing.
We actually have several people in the audience who have supported the Veterans Crisis Line.
Oh,
so I am sure they are heartened to hear about this bill, and we hope that it will make its way through the legislature soon and be approved.
Well, we appreciate that.
And thank you, Senator Boozman. We appreciate your support to the VA and its partners as we transform the way we serve those who have served in the defense of our nation.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and congratulations. Like I said, we've got a standing room crowd on both sides, and that's a real tribute, I think, to people that care so much about our veterans. But we do appreciate you coordinating things.
Thank you. It's
Thank you.
always a pleasure.
Thank you.